Welcome everyone to more T2, the everything, just mostly vanilla and working and tuned and stuff. Linux, continuing a little bit with PS3 enablement because I neglected that a year or so. And so I do two things here. So one thing, I didn't start this in a screen. And so I'm actually building this a retail PS3 at home, right? In the office, I have the luxury of having a developer tool. So retail, of course, we are severely, even more than on the developer tool, memory limited. And so I tried, so not only currently disabled our RSX enablement and enabled the VRAM stuff that exists for over a decade, giving you 256 of relatively high performance, although the speed is not less than 200 megabytes a second, some also not stellar. Somehow wonder if that can be improved. But also I tried for the first time ever, maybe I'm even potentially maybe the first who ever tried this SETRAM compressed memory. So basically double space for doubling, sort of doubling the memory. And I'm currently doing stability testing here, but given it's a PS3, performance leaves a little bit to be desired. As you see, we compiled some stuff, but so two things, right? So the one thing, the more we test, the more we find also this. So currently we have, so what we have here now is a lot of virtual memory, right? Because actually physical memory, we don't have the most. So basically I'm currently running with 32 megabyte of compressed. So basically that gives you, actually we can query that SETRAM control. It's in general one of the first times because previously as like x86 we have enough memory, right? So 32, so that is the uncompressed size, right? We have a 32 megabyte. I previously compiled with a little bit more, I believe 48. So what this does is in modern, just the last year's Linux kernel, darn, I have set LO. Darn, I have, okay, I don't take this down now. I previously had this, I rebooted, it's like, yeah, usually you would otherwise probably do set standard. So compressed 10, I mean, it still compresses 3:1, right? Set standard might give you a tiny little bit higher compression ratio. Should we feel lucky? Okay, swap off. Okay, we feel lucky, doesn't matter the most. Swap off. So how you configure that is reset, SETRAM control, reset is so, dev, SETRAM, best without typos. And so you need to reset that to reconfigure it. Do I not have -a? Oh, come on. SETRAM, find, algorithm, set standard. We could, what was the size now? Because I wonder if we should enable that in general, because most people don't have like 96 or 160 gigs of memory. Here's 32. Yeah, previously, I mean, we could, let's like 40 or so at least, a little bit more. Or, I mean, theoretically, I know what 40. So the thing is, I'm a little bit conservative. I previously had 48. We are severely RAM limited. So let's maybe uncompressed 48 and algorithm set standard. And then MK swap and swap on, swap. Here. Foreground, let's build this a little bit. That's probably enough to already populate that. And yeah, usually I run this in screen and Tmax, but today I initially had it running, but then of course just for the live stream I forgot. Okay, it's not yet fully used, but yeah, running this once, like how severely memory limited was the P3 always except for gaming. Yeah, of course. Set RAM control, so that is currently compressed data, so that is 22.4, yeah, probably a little bit higher. I'm a little bit, so yeah, is it basically testing, so only substitute testing, because of course I had a kernel oops some 30 minutes ago, right? I was I had an uptime of 2 hours. This is the latest kernel. Of course, I'm the only one who runs the latest kernel, right? Previous video, we just bisected and fixed shit. 6.4.11, just who else in the whole Linux world would run the very latest kernel with fixes, patches, and other OS, game OS enablement, of course. The last person who maintains and tests and improves this stuff. The oops. So of course this oopsed in var log messages. I rebooted. So the oops might, yeah, so here's the oops. This is, oh wait, no, this is a standard oops because PowerPC Linux, of course, oops is on boot because who would care? Probably this one. Yeah, so Folio, so latest and greatest 2023 technology of maple trees, folios, and stuff. Also, that is, yeah, LRU genlog around. So that is, by the way, what exactly was that? VM scan of, so it's warning of whatever is a precise warning. Yeah, whatever. We would need to read the source code probably. Whether that is bit rot, memory corruption. I mean, we run an extremely experimental setup here, right? In our P3 cluster with VRAM block device for VRAM swap and then SetRAM. Contra SetRAM control, so it's probably full now. Yeah, was it previously full when we... No, previously, so yeah, now it's full. It's like, yeah, keeping it running for 3 seconds, and of course it's fully compressed. So that gives us, of course we don't have Lua because it's a P3, so 48 to 12, yeah, 4 times, also maybe scale 3 or whatever. Yeah, currently precisely 4 times, like double space is so much Microsoft DOS, we quadruple space some memory, and yeah, certainly making better use. I wonder if that will crash sometime. So didn't crash yet. However, doing that, there are a couple of observations. So the one question is, we had even recurring subscribers might have seen that we had also severe memory overcommit on the Ryzen with our embarrassingly parallel Linux distribution compilation workload here on our channel. So actually I wonder whether some other Linux distribution enable that by default. So leave me in the comments below. Maybe we make some poll because we are YouTube poll driven development here. But I'm even inclined to potentially always do that, because why not? So usually you should have before swapping that to swap. And on the Ryzen here, of course, I have a similar crazy setup. I have here, like in the meantime, that is, what was 600 something megabyte. Why is this such a, all right, maybe in total of maybe in total of all of this good stuff, yeah. Of course, so whatever I had here now, but it's unused, of course. And so the thing is, if you massively build on TempFS, right, this is all overcommitted memory, and memory the kernel cannot free. And then if you swap this, so this is a high performance swap, this VG0, that is a RAID 0 over to NVMe PCIe 4, PCIe Gen 4 SSDs. So that's giving us, I believe, 8 gigabyte. Was it 8 gigabyte per second? So nearly 10 gigabyte per second, I believe. Yeah, but of course you also don't want to trash your SSDs, right? So some gigabyte or so. Did I run this here? Actually, yeah, we can. I run this here. How did I run this? Just some hours ago. Okay, I had actually 32 freaking gigs of memory. Why do this sizes look so strange? Or is it, oh wait, this is 60, this is 64. Oh, I have, the sizes read so strange because it's 100 gigabyte. Oops, I thought it's Yeah, 2023 numbers get large. The age of 64-bit computing. So yeah, 100 gigs of swap, I believe. That is certainly, so yeah, P3, how the recurring win-win, right? Playing with your P3 cluster, and further improving your high performance, latest and greatest epic thread ripping AMD Ryzen workloads here. So that's 32 gigs of compressed ZRAMFS and 64 gigs of RAID 0 NVMEs. Potentially also, of course, cargo fails. For PowerPC, so I'm rebuilding here the world because, of course, I do. Let's continue cargo. I have something to debug later. Leave me in the comments. Yeah, I will probably make a poll, but probably some 10%. How much would be 10% of? I have 96 gigs of memory, so that would be 9.6. What did I even? 96. Oh, okay, obviously that is, yeah, 9.6 gigabyte. I don't need a calculator for that. So the other thing is, so that's one thing. Maybe we make this the default. Leave in the comments below. Another thing I noticed, the reason why binutils builds forever, and the other day I also got this compiled, right? I added this already to our hardware listing. So not even on the tool, but like yesterday night, I got, because some days ago in the office it failed on a developer tool without all this fancy modern VRAM swap and ZRAMFS. So that wasn't stable, but I got it built and it wasn't pretty. So Bash, this is on a retail, right? Also somehow I forgot the closing parenthesis there. So 8 minutes 40, and that is without fancy VRAM swap. And binutils I built yesterday, I mean, obviously that is totally not pretty, right? 2.5 freaking hours. I think the estimate might have been faster, but this is swapping to death, right? It's running right now, and this is how I got to all those ideas to further optimize the heck out of this, right? If we watch this with iStat2 for 2-second delay here, this is like, yeah, obviously performance suffers, and it's like a magnitude or 2 orders of less performance if you constantly with 5, it's like some average of 5 megabyte a second and 400. And this is only as fast, of course, I have an SSD, right? Samsung Pro 840 or something from some years ago. This is only where otherwise you couldn't have 100, 200 transactions per second, man. Yeah, like some average of 3, 4, 5 megabyte a second. It's like, yeah, that's obviously not pretty. And also like, this is not even, there is not a statistic for VRAM, PS3 VRAM, right? Somehow that doesn't have statistics. But I mean, the thing is so severely limited, sure, for highly optimized games, Mario and Cellar and stuff, squeezed in 2 years craftsmanship of squeezing last bytes out of the 256 megabyte of memory, but like, yeah, 10 megabyte a second. And hey, if we would ever, like, share, like, subscribe, GoFundMe, Patreon, all the good stuff, we could squeeze another 10-ish% out of swap performance or any disk I/O, right? I theoretically implemented multi-queue. It just needs some more hours of guru meditation, actually making it stable. Anyway, yeah, this stuff is swapping to death, yeah, swapping to disk and to death live here on this channel, obviously. And while I watched this, also on stuff like Mango Pi and Raspberry Pi Zero and stuff, I noticed the new binutils, right? For like decades ago, you built binutils only for the architecture you had. And since some years, binutils have the option to build all targets, right? So that meaning, so like binutils are of course a GNU assembler, linker, object dump, and all the good stuff. And so usually on x86, you only need x86, right? Or i386 and AMD 64. And so normally this was configure option -- enable -- targets equals all. And somehow that is the default now. I'm not even sure if that is intended behavior. But I realized, because I was literally sitting here and it's like, due. Why is it, and this is highly expensive, right? That is nowadays written in C++, and C+ compiling, and this is also hilarious, right? Of course, 20 years ago, that wasn't the case with C++ being beta C with classes and some generic programming. And it's like, yeah, C++ stuff is building like an order of magnitude or two slower. It is ridiculous. And while I was seeing this, and this is also the win-win, right? For years, I was building this epic thread ripping in 30 seconds or so on a Horizon here. And you just don't see that it takes forever, right? And I wouldn't like, even I never need this, right? So the thing is, in LVM Clang, we have the same. They build all, at least I think by default, all the targets, which I may or may not have partially. Once in T2, I had this actually disabled to only build native targets and AMD GPU, for example. Because the thing is, you never need the other targets, right? And on, so I tested this now, I will probably commit this. So somehow with, did I not bin, also best with all typos, bin utils. So another win-win is here, enable targets no, somehow this no, this is silly, right? In my opinion, the documentation, hey, I read the freaking documentation. It should be explicitly enabled with -- enable targets all. Somehow it isn't, maybe it's a regression, maybe it's a bug, maybe it's not updated documentation. Because the thing is, it's building x86, ARM, ARch64, even TileGX, I believe even some AMD stuff. I mean, obviously IBM mainframe F390 and X, and it's like, and on Horizon, I mean, it's not that much, except of course everything accumulates, right? I built this 32 times for ARM and MIPS and stuff. But if you build this natively on an unmatched Hi5, Sci5, RISC-V or PS3, it adds another 30 minutes, right? Instead, you build this in 2 hours, or you build this in 2 hours and 30 minutes or so. It's like why build stuff? And that is the micro optimization that are a result here on this YouTube channel. The more we test and do, I had here this previously built var ADM packages of bin utils. So it's 6, apparently, yeah, 6, 7, 8 seconds faster, right? How much it is, I mean, it's quite some percentage, right? So it's basically, is it like 12% or so? We need, or I mean, we can straight 30 of 36. This is only 8 MIs. All right, I doubled this 4 minutes. I was there. I mean, no, not 8. What did I even? Maybe hydration. Oh, wait. Yes, it is as I calculated. Some, I mean, by like mentally, I calculated 12, but it is 4 is 16 apparently. Yeah, I guesstimated. So yeah, it's probably worth it. I'm building this, also why I'm rebuilding this. I wanted to see what kind of regressions we get, because obviously we only test commit tested stuff. And even I don't need this, right? The argument of like, hey, if you cross-compile, if I cross-compile anyway, so like some bin utils with all targets, sure, you won't have x86-EFI or so, or maybe Windows, like PC Windows for whatever reason. But otherwise, you never, in my opinion, I mean, even very intense, busy developers, even I never use this, because if I use this, I need a compiler, right? And GCC does not have all targets. Also, yeah, never researched this. GCC enable all targets, but probably there isn't such a thing. Would surprise me if there were. I'm pretty sure there isn't. So I find this rather pointless, right? This is kind of features, like I have no idea why it was added. Even for me, it is pointless, and I'm a embarrassingly parallel cross-compilation guy here, so I never used it. It only wastes everyone's time. So the only thing is, so this makes emerging bin utils faster on your PS3, It might take less than 2 hours, especially if you build with VRAM and ZRAM. But I just added here some, it's like I just posted here some performance numbers and then they are already invalid because, I mean, thankfully I only added some 2 hands full of 2 dozens of performance indexes, but it's like here, you just added some orientation and then 1 week later, let's optimize it. But obviously we better optimize it because even, truth be told, even on a higher performance RISC-V silicon right now, it is still annoying to build stuff natively in every 16% count, right? So yeah, apparently that stuff builds for the most part. Yeah, leave in the comments. I will probably make a poll, but I will probably enable that by default. Some 10% of memory by default or something of that sort. Leave in the comments below. I'm basically testing that here for you, right? And how much I'm already looking forward to use that on, like basically, yes, I'm building a distributed PS3 cluster here. 1 at home, 2 in the office. I still wait that someone hacks and opens my, I still have a Blu-ray watching 2nd gen Slim. Yeah. Trebexit says ZRAM is used by Armbian by default and found it pretty stable. Yeah, so I have no idea why this oopsed here. I will certainly give it some try on the, also if you want to see performance, like, hey, 5.8 gigabyte with stuff. Yeah, but by the way, I probably should also, like, you really need to share, like, subscribe, and maybe drop a cent to Patreon. Ideally, I should also debug why this BPF stuff here, proc alloc no state. I really wonder why. I mean, maybe it just fails due to low memory, probably. But this is, it's like, yeah, each boot we have this. Oops, no, it's like, yeah, you fix one thing, there's a new oops for another thing. Yeah, leave in the comments below. All right, let's add this to the to-do. Also, somehow my Wi-Fi lags now, of course. Do I not have a to-do here? This is the wrong machine. Don't tell me yeah, running, good. Here I want this, of course. I will probably add this before the next release. The next release is imminent because we just made so many amazing improvements and fixes. So ZRAM by default. I just need to, yeah, I will probably make it configurable so that the installer will add this by default. And if you don't want this, then remove it again, I guess. And the init system will only do it if it finds it in the etcfs tab. Question there. Don't understand any of this. Wish I had the energy and motivation to start contributing to Herd. And yeah. Hope you're here. Hope you enjoy this. I hope you learned something. What else do we have here? I probably should test some Wi-Fi stuff. I'm not entirely sure. Or did I disable that? Yeah, it's not the... Because somehow I probably nearly never used Wi-Fi anyway. I should not do here so much stuff while we are waiting to, while we are swapping with, yeah. I mean, ZRAM and PS3 DD, we're basically swapping with, yeah, 5 megabyte a second here, sometimes 10, like, yeah. And we're probably currently building, so most likely we're building some big C++ sources, which I also find hilarious that it's that slow, right? In my opinion, the PS3 has 3.2 gigahertz, yes, a embarrassingly long pipeline with 30 or whatever pipeline stages and stuff. But hey, come on. I mean, it was, I had an intern, like basically this was, not only was it my workstation, I had in 2007 or 8, I even had, this was even the workstation of our intern, and then so our intern has written barcode recognition. I remember because I knew who this intern was. Was a good friend. And it's like, yeah, this was productive image DSP code written on probably Emacs with Conqueror as a browser and stuff. And it is hilarious that that C++ compiles now forever. This is ridiculous. The new tools, let's see. CXX, of course. Like, it is also here that this stuff is so slow is set. It's really ridiculous. It's like, yeah, C1's like here, C compiler runs for a while, swapping for a while. It is what it is. So let's commit this binutils. So that is here. Yeah, basically, how do we best do that? The only thing is, I wonder if our installer should set this up. But maybe it's too much. I mean, if we know, so far we usually didn't need it, and I wonder if maybe we should actually add ZRAM control to the installer image, though. You know, let's quickly test if we have it in there. So by default, and ZRAM control and installer second stage. One of those to-dos. Oops. Where did I had? Probably here. Run. Do we actually, which do we use? Probably this one. I mean, there should not be that much to possibly go wrong, right? So theoretically, it would be a little bit of stability testing. That is like, yeah, should we just automatically add this? I mean, it would be potentially an idea to, yeah, leave in the comments. I mean, we never really had an issue with it, except like on a 486 or P3. So, yeah, leave me in the comments somewhere. So probably we don't have, oh, we have it even, whoa. I didn't expect this, so that is probably, this probably means we could further, I'm surprised because usually we filter that quite a bit. That probably means we have here way too many utilities. So we probably could, like we probably take all of core utils, and that is probably way too much. So we probably could, by some selective filtering, we probably could downsize here the core utils stuff. That is the thing, right? A decade ago, or like 15 or 20 years ago, here there is way too much stuff in here, to be honest. That is, yeah, way too much stuff. But that is modern Unix and Linux systems, right? So only constants like change it, new tools. It probably should, let's maybe check if it, do we have the module? Probably mod probe ZRAM. Okay, we don't have, all right, maybe we want to, you know what, we probably want to include this in the init.rd. That probably is also a, oh, it's also the wrong, oh no, it wasn't, I think it was somewhere here. So maybe even in the vintage image because we would need this for really low performance systems. Do we have ZRAM? Yeah, there's only one thing named ZRAM. There. We would need the ZRAM control thing though, but that is for, I mean, maybe you probably could set this up just in sysfs. Maybe the ZRAM control is only writing sysfs files. That is a possibility. Yeah, this is, by the way, how long, like, in the time I was talking here for 4 minutes or whatever, it only built, like the P3 literally only built one freaking C++ plugin file, right? Like, this is how long the individual jobs, it's like, yeah, don't buy a new PS3 in 2023. If you have a cluster, if you have an old one, I mean, if you can get a cheap one, certainly with programming the SPUs, that makes more sense. But yeah, 4 minutes, yeah. Maybe I should check optimizing GCC more. I wonder which what optimization was this built with. Maybe this is not a highly. Maybe I should actually reinstall it. I think that I built this with Smart is new. This is a 2-year-old installation, so maybe Modern T2 would be a little bit faster. So cat versus, of course, less that. That's size vectorize. Yeah, it's not the very best optimization. So maybe, I mean, this is a slightly older GCC, but yeah, 9.3. So probably our more optimized, smart optimized GCC, all the optimization probably eaten by all the bloat edit since 2019 easily. What do you mean with S, or you mean C cache? Is SS some C cache thing? But I mean, if you build this only once, then some... You're writing SS cache? Is SS cache some new C cache variant, or with cloud storage? Or you're kidding me? You got to be kidding me. Interesting. I mean, yeah, we could set some shared compiler cache service for T2 users. So, and thanks for this pointer, we probably could add this to the to-do of packaging that, because we lack some 10,000 packages compared to BSD's package sources. So crazy stuff exists in, I mean, for local caching, I would just use Ccache, right? So did I now edit this with a typo? Because so if you say Scache, then, SC cache. Oh man, naming, difficult and stuff. By the way, another fun thing I added the other day, I added a Pacman thing. When did I not yet update? Maybe I didn't update the web view yet. I believe something like so I added a console Pacman thing. If that is something for you, right? Console gaming, mostly for our 3-year-old, of course, if he sometimes wants to press a keyboard while I try to work on a PS3. However, I must say the size is ridiculous, right? Even on Horizon, it built for a minute or whatever. And it's like the installed stuff. I don't know what is wrong with people. I'm somewhat triggered to maybe clone that in like sane code, because I don't know what it's doing, and it's generating some levels and whatnot. And the freaking install size was 20 freaking megabyte, right? Absolutely hilarious. I believe it built at least 30 seconds even on Horizon. It's like 2023, people compile console gaming so strangely that it takes forever to build on Horizon. Absolutely mental. My man here. Yeah, 35, yeah, of course at night, right? That's this from the couch. 35 freaking seconds on a Horizon. This is on Horizon 7950X for God's sake, right? And the installed stuff, I mean, it's like, it installs 465 files in 21 freaking megabyte. It's like, what freaking is wrong with you? I appreciate the efforts of writing this, but it's like, if this does not fit in like 64, like I think share, like, and subscribe, 64K challenge coming. It's like, let's re-implement this in C++ or so, or Zig or Rust in 64K challenge or stuff. I mean, theoretically, this freaking game should fit. I mean, of course, not with 200 levels, but with one freaking level, it should fit in a bloody boot sector of a bloody floppy disk. Like, yeah. Anyway, I packaged that, so of course, In T2 we now have my man, although I'm less than impressed. Also serve fails for some crazy reason. Yeah, I little bit clobbered my VM here. I, for debugging purposes, extracted the Petit boot, the original Hackers Petit boots that I installed on the PS3 here for research and debugging and evaluation. And this is also some generic stuff because modern regressions, whatever, it's wrong. Probably just needs a Python rebuild, but yeah. And so usually I just create a temp directory and decompress pipe to CPIO, and this bloody init.rd was created with absolute pass. So like not once in my life have I created an init.rd with absolute passes. So it's like, this is like as bad as a shell bomb, and it clobbered like PowerPC binary straight into my bloody system. It's like, yeah, pro tip, like it's also super annoying, right? The option, the command line option, so pro tip, never extract. Like, yeah, probably also pro tip, don't do this as root but I work with T2 as root usually because, so there is some no absolute path, so no absolute, also the option sub sucks, right? So dash no absolute file names. It's like, yeah, thank you. Like, yeah, this is why I have there some stray files there now lingering in my system from the debugging this Petit boot init.rd payload. Yay. So anyway, while we talked so long, we only built 3 freaking CXX files, and that is why it takes 2.5 hours to build the C++ process. So anyway, yeah, this is how playing Recipe 3 also, because otherwise I would have never worked on setremfs and get the idea, or even notice that binutils builds all targets now, which actually we probably can commit. Disable building all binutils targets because nobody needs them, and it just adds unnecessary overhead. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how T2 becomes one of the best Linux distributions, one live stream at a time. As usual, I will probably update, so of course not probably, I will update the T2 performance index for the PS3 as soon as this build. I strongly hope it is more in the 2-hour ballpark and not 2 hours 32. Maybe we can further improve the bash build time. I will probably just rebuild this just for the fun of it in tempfs, because maybe I didn't build this in tempfs. Now that we can compress that with setremfs, we can basically double space that. Maybe cut 39 seconds off of that if we are lucky. Otherwise, yeah, PS3 strong. Don't forget to like, subscribe. If you ever want to see RSX doing 3D stuff, you better share, like, subscribe, Patreon, and GoFundMe. Of course, we will add SC cache later. Nixon's repro of build artifacts. I have no idea. What else do we have there? Works with Rust and not only C++ like Ccache. That is also amazing. And trap exit agrees computers were a mistake. And Sean Bird agrees that this should fit in a freaking MBR. That's it for this video. We continue to work on all things over T2 Linux. I hope you enjoyed this and learned something. Have a good day or night. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I hope to see you soon for Text Pacman coming on our RISC-V FPGA and hopefully less than 64K. And I hope to see you next time for all this fun coming up next.